If you're looking for the answers, I still don't have them. But today, I bring someone on that does. Today, you will see my interview with the best evaluator of NCAA and NBA talent out there. He gives us the information that we need to succeed. And yes, he names players that should be on our radar going forward. So, if you like what you see, hit the like, hit that subscribe. If you don't like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe. But without further delay, let's get to the interview. It is my absolute pleasure today to welcome my friend Rashad Phillips to the show. Rashad is, in my opinion, the best NCAA, NBA prospect specialist talent evaluator in the game. And before he became such a great evaluator of talent, Rashad was a great basketball player in his own right. His accomplishments, we could have a show just on Rashad's accomplishments. They are too numerous at this point to even mention, but please, as I always say, Google him. And this guy went up against the best. And when I am talking about the best, he played against Kobe in a tournament. He was the MVP. He held his own. He earned the respect of the great Kobe Bryant. In fact, Kobe once said that Rashad was the best basketball player that was never drafted. You can see Rashad, he's all over the place. He's on radio and TV. He is in demand when it comes to evaluating talent. And it is my pleasure, my distinct pleasure, to bring on the show my good friend, Rashad Phillips. Rashad, welcome to the show. I cannot tell you how excited I am, my friend.
Man, thanks for having me, Andy. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for this moment to finally get on your show. I'm a huge supporter from afar. I've been watching all of your knowledge. I'm watching you grow, put everything together. I'm just really excited to be here to exchange dialogue with you. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I want to jump into it. And I know we talk all the time when we message back and forth, and I tell you a little bit about the card game and how it just, to me, when I first started doing this, it boggles my mind that there's guys out there in sports cards that think that they're GMs of clubs or they're actually talent evaluators. And I always tell the guys that watch my show that one day I'm going to get the best talent evaluator out there to come on, tell people what they need to know, tell people what to look for. So with that, let's just jump right into it. So when you look at young talent, when they're ready to make that jump from college or maybe even high school or from overseas into the NBA, are you looking at certain traits in these young guys?
Yeah, I do, Andy. I try to look at skill set. That's kind of I'm a huge stickler in regards to how that player plays and how their skill set will translate to the next level. So I'm always watching out for that. Obviously, the mannerisms, the statistics, and just my overall feel for the game. You know, being a former player kind of gives me a little bit of an edge over the next person because, especially playing the guard position, a leadership type of role. So I'm able to kind of see and forecast how they'll play out at the next level. So I look at three traits that usually can stick where they'll be really good at the next level in translation.
No, that's excellent. And we're going to talk about Sports Talk 2319 later on, because I want everybody to get on 2319, subscribe to that channel. It's invaluable information. And one of the things that I was doing when I was doing my research, my homework, which, you know, basically is following and listening to what you say, is I love the way that when you're getting ready for a draft, I can go look at a player and you break it down, and not in the simplest forms where it's, but the simplest for someone who maybe isn't a basketball aficionado to understand, right? Like star, utility, role player, you know, you give those three traits that people will understand going forward. So in the card game, obviously it's best if we can pinpoint a superstar early on, and we'll talk about that. But if you're looking at a guy who's a role player, that may give me some pause because he's not going to be that guy in the limelight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I can see how my material actually enhances what you guys are doing in the card industry, because you can get you can get in front of somebody on a kid that maybe I've targeted years in advance and say, hey, let me jump out in front of this because Rashad's information has led me to believe that this kid will be a superstar. And I've been able to do that for the last 15 years. Again, my evaluations, my scouting reports go far back to when I was 7 years old. I'm 43 now, so I've been evaluating
youngster.
talent. Yeah, I've been evaluating talent over 30 years. I have 30 years of evaluation experience. So this is something that I love to do. It was something that I was born to do. And I'm always happy to help any and everybody who's willing to look at the game of basketball through a different lens. And that's what I try to bring to the game.
It's amazing. So let me ask you this. Every year we see these college players where they're I don't know if you would say they're can't miss or they're super hype that surrounds these guys. But for whatever reason, they just don't make that jump from either coming from overseas or college into the pros. There's some guys that come to mind where their game just doesn't translate. Is that typical of as far as like, is that a game or is that the skill set or is it just not the right situation? Or is it just the overall grind and the difference between college and professional?
I think that's a case-by-case study. I don't think that there's one answer that can cover all of that. A lot has to do with, it could be the destination that they're in. It could be that they don't mesh with the coach, or the locker room isn't good for them, or it could be a lot of cases. And I've seen over the years it be all the above. You know, maybe the skills didn't translate. Maybe the person had skills but was in the wrong situation. Maybe they was in a situation where they didn't like the coach or the coach didn't like them. Maybe it was injury. So again, it's a case-by-case study when you look at it from a broad angle like that.
I got to ask you this question, and I have everything laid out because I don't want to miss a thing. But this just hit me because this is kind of like it's something in the card community that was funny when a guy came out of college, like Marvin Bagley. Okay.
Yeah.
His game in college was it just didn't am I off here? It just didn't translate from college into the pro game. And I know you talk about position, and I want everyone to go because the different position breakdown that you've done is brilliant, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. But is he a typical guy that it just didn't translate, or at least not yet, into the pro game?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that right now. I mean, we have to allow these kids, because that's what they are, to kind of find their way, especially when these kids go into college for one semester and then jump into the man's game. Right. We have to give them a grace period. I try to give all of my prospects grace periods where you give them 3 to 5 years to kind of find their footing. And I think this applies to Marvin Bagley. This kid is a hybrid post. He was a 2010 guy in college, and he was drafted by the Sacramento Kings, where I believe they tried to play him with his back to the basket, which wasn't his style of play. Again, why my positions metric is very important and imperative for the game of basketball is for a player like Marvin Bagley, where you're trying to just jam him into a slot because there's only 5 positions technically. But in my positions metric, there's 12 slots where you can place players in the proper slot and then they can perform better. And I think Marvin Bagley is an example of being put in the wrong slot and asked to perform.
And that reminded me, because when we were talking, I was going over, we were talking about like the different slots or the different play, because over 100 years, right? It's been 5 positions, and that's just outdated at this point. And you've looked at that, and and we can go on and talk about. I want to get into some good stuff, but we talked about Ben Simmons. It's not a point guard,
no,
but right. But there are positions and placements that these guys can excel.
Yes, Ben Simmons is a dual forward. That's what he is.
There you go. I got to talk about a couple guys, and we're going to get into some guys that you like that maybe are a little bit under the radar. But 2 of the guys that you were on really early, and I personally thank you for that, is Ja Morant and Trey Young. Can you talk a little bit maybe about Trey first, of what coming from a football school, right? Oklahoma, maybe like not as like hyped as like a Duke or a Villanova or someone like that. Like, what did you see? What did you see special in Trey?
Well, I watched Trey in high school, and that's when it first caught my attention. I had a couple of friends on the circuit that would reach out to me and say, "Hey, man, you may want to look at this kid named Trey Young." And I started following him, and I was like, you know what? I know his father. His father was a really good point guard at Texas Tech, scored over 1,500 points in college.
Oh.
I remember watching his father score 40 on Kansas on TV on ESPN. I was like, this dude can play. So when I saw his son, I was like, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. So I started to really dig deeper into Trey Young in high school, especially at the AAU level on the circuit, and EYBL when he was teammates with Michael Porter Jr. And I just said, hey, I believe that this kid will be a superstar at the NBA level, because I started to see where the style of the NBA was trending towards ball dominant type of guards that can shoot the long range 3-point shot. So I figured Trey Young would be the prototype for what the NBA was trying to go in that direction, and he just fit it perfectly.
It's amazing, and we go back a long way. My son Tyler and
yes.
and we played on they played on some really good high school teams, and they played some good AAU teams, and there were always players on high school or AAU teams that when they got on the court with these guys, the rest of the team, it's almost like a big exhale, because they knew with this kid on the court, we're all just going to be better. And I think Trey's a guy like that, right? That just makes everybody else around him more confident. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, the word that I've always used to describe Trey Young is magnetism.
Perfect.
He just has it. He has this magical aura that elevates everyone else that's in the surroundings. And that's when you have a great leader, the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes, those type of guys, Peyton Manning, like they have this glow about them that they can elevate everyone that they come in contact with. And that's what Trey Young has been able to do thus far.
I mean, you're just seeing he's a killer. I mean, you're just seeing that come now with this series with the Knicks, and he rushes it off, and everything outside, all the outside influences and everything else, and he's like, I don't care. I'm going to win. He's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about Ja. He to me is one of the funnest guys out there. He plays with to me, and again, I always tell my guys, I am not a talent evaluator. I get everything from the guys that know. But for me as a fan, he just comes off fearless, and plays with like a reckless abandon, not out of control. Sometimes he is, we all, every time, but just out of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. I don't care how big you are or how I'm going to do it. Tell everyone, because I know, but tell everyone when you first started to look at Ja Morant.
I saw Ja Morant in high school. South Carolina, again, I got friends pretty much in every state, right? So I always get phone calls from different people from different regions about different kids. And hey, Shad, I need you to look at this kid or look at this kid. So I got a call about, hey man, it's this kid named Ja Morant. You may want to, just give him a look and see what you think. And I was fortunate enough to actually watch him play. And I was like, this kid will be a superstar in the NBA. And this was before he even stepped foot into Murray State. Again, I was able to kind of forecast what he looked like, how he played, his style, and could see almost a future in what he brings to the table for the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, there's something that's deeper that lies behind the fabric of Ja Morant, and I want to kind of break that down on your show.
Please.
And I'm speaking from experience. There's a ruthlessness that is in his fabric when you're a mid-major player.
Mm-hmm.
Because mid-major basketball players like myself, we're bred to carry. because we don't have the 5-star, 4-star teammates around us. So we're asked to do more. We're asked to go above and beyond our skill set in order to get wins. And when you watch Ja Morant, he has carried that same mentality of getting wins no matter who his teammates are. And that's why Memphis is always in the thick of things, because he's been bred to win at all cost.
That's excellent. I mean, I was thinking about that too. And he played the season. I mean, they're a young team. They got some good players on that team, but they played most of that team with a player that I like because, Jalen Jackson Jr. And even without this guy, he got them into the position where they are now. I mean, that at his age, at his young age, it's crazy, right?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, are we just seeing this kid scratching the surface? I mean, has he got more?
He got more. Forward? He got more. There's more to Ja Morant. We're just seeing a taste of it, but there's some MVP type of sprinklings that will follow Ja Morant. Like he's really like that.
I was telling you before, I have I'm trying to get you more involved with cards and stuff and things like that. Yeah. And I've got some cards coming back, and it's not a very it's a card that I think illustrates Ja. It's a card where he's dunking. I think he misses the dunk. Doesn't even matter. But he's going over, I think, Luka. I think I sent you a picture of it where I'm going to send you that.
I think it was Kevin Love.
Was it Kevin? Oh, it was Kevin. Yep. And it was that's Ja. I am going
that's
over you, right? I mean, it's fantastic. So, and I gotta ask you this though, because I love watching these talking heads on the radio. We talk about this sometimes offline. Eat their words about some of the guys that's got to give you a tiny bit of satisfaction when it's like, hey, I'm just telling you, you don't have to you don't have to listen to anything I say. You're asking my opinion, right?
I'm just giving you my opinion, man. You can take it or you can leave it. It's okay.
That's it. Now I got to ask you this. No one bats 1,000, right? So was there any guys coming out that you just, not how did I miss, but I just said man, I just didn't see him coming, right?
Yeah, that happens. I think a lot of us did that with Luka. I mean, I take the brunt of it because obviously I'm on the front lines of evaluation.
Put yourself out there, right?
So it's okay. But hey, for me, the evaluation business is about percentages. Mm-hmm. And I've made way more than I've missed in this business. And if I start missing a lot, then I'll get out of the business. But I've been doing this 30 years, man, and I haven't missed too much on players. And I pride myself on that. Hey, it's like, it's like shooting free throws, Andy. When you're a 90% free throw shooter, right, and you go to the free throw line and the crowd is going crazy and they're waving balloons and they're chanting your name and you shoot your free throw and you miss and the crowd goes crazy.
Right.
And the reason the crowd goes crazy when you miss a free throw
don't happen that often, right?
Because it's rarely an occurring event to see that. So when Steph Curry shoots a free throw and he missed
right.
It's
a big deal.
It's crazy because it's not normal for him to do that. So that's how I feel when I miss on evaluations.
Hey, let me tell you something. And I tell guys all the time, I've been talking about you on my show since we started, because and again, I don't want to belabor the point, but it's like guys who are in the sports cards who are doing what I do. When my big thing is I look at first year rookie players, and I know it's redundant, but I look at how good guys are going to be. There's some guys that collect GOATs, some guys that collect guys that have been for a while, the LeBrons, Giannis, whatever. I don't. I speculate. And I need every advantage that I can get from people that know what they're doing. It's not going to be from some guy on a YouTube channel that's putting out an Instagram that says, I think this, or no one cares what you think, right? You have to go to the people that know. So let me get into it because I know the guys that are watching the show, they really want to get into this a little bit. So this year in the card world, right, you had guys that are coming in with all the hype in the world. LaMelo, Anthony Edwards. And these two guys, I think, from reading and listening and talking to you, they've got great futures. And, if you want to give your thoughts on these guys, terrific. But what I want to know is, are there guys out there from this year's class, not named LaMelo, not named Anthony Edwards, that you think have a chance to be special?
Yeah, I would really pour a lot of stock into Orlando Magic's RJ Hampton. He's a kid for me that I believe has sprinkles of Russell Westbrookish type of style. He's 6'5". He's electric in open court. He's a really good 3-point shooter. And I mean, his trajectory as far as making an instant impact in his league is shooting through the roof. He just finished Rookie of the Month. Close out the season.
Yeah,
he's gotten into the right destination here in Orlando, and I just believe that's a player that you want to kind of keep your eye on if you're in the card industry.
So let me bring you back. Let's go back in the time machine about March 15th of last year.
Yeah,
you tweeted out. I'm going to read this verbatim because I don't want to get it wrong. It says, a year ago, when you're drafting between 14 and 28, you have to swing for the fences. The Orlando Magic are at a swing for the fences stage. Markelle is ready. Mo Bamba is going to walk next season. Gordon has value. And if Hampton is still on the board, there's your home run swing. Hashtag talk soon. We could talk about talk soon. They don't call you Yoda for nothing. But let's fast forward. So RJ Hampton was drafted by Milwaukee, 24th pick. Then he got traded to Denver. March 25th, almost a year to the day later, Hampton, Gary Harris, a future first, were traded to Orlando Magic in exchange for Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark. Do you have a crystal ball? I mean, is this just falls into play? I mean, is he now in the spot where you envision him excelling?
Yeah, he's there. That actually happened.
It's crazy. I remember. Look, one thing, my background. I'm an ex-DEA guy. I do research. I do backgrounds. I go back. My son says, I will say something. I forget who it was. And he'll say, Rashad said that last year. Rashad said that 6 months ago. And I'm like, how did I miss that? But I don't miss anything anymore because it's very, on the sports card industry, it's very dependent on information like that. So, let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
How important is it for a rookie to land in the right spot?
I think it's extremely important because if you, from a team standpoint, want to get the maximum bang for your buck in your draft pick, you got to make sure that that destination allows that player to maximize their God-given talent. You take RJ Hampton for an example. I just didn't think Denver was the right destination for him for both sides. I thought Denver didn't need him because they were already set in their rotations and how they were going to go. And Denver has a reputation of slow cooking their rookies. And I felt with RJ's talent, Denver wasn't the place for him to just sit there and wait for 4 years till his rookie contract was over with, and then end up losing out on a lot of money because he wasn't able to showcase who he actually is. Yeah, so
absolutely.
So with Orlando, I believe that he will be able to maximize who he is, and Orlando will be able to give him the platform to show that. And now it's a win-win situation. A lot of drafts you see it's a win-lose or it's a lose-win. You want to try to make sure that it's a win-win situation for the player and the team. And I believe Orlando Magic took the right steps and made that happen.
Now they have another young player, Cole Anthony.
Yeah.
Do you see them meshing well?
Yeah.
I mean, Cole Anthony's pretty ball. I mean, look, I'm not the pro. I learned from the best, but he's a ball dominant guard, right?
Yeah, he's ball dominant. I like Cole's willingness to compete, though. He's a competitor. He loves the big stage. He hit some buzzer beaters this year. I think he hit 2 or 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually like the direction that the Orlando Magic is going. Mo Bamba, once he got healthy, because Mo Bamba he had COVID for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's healthy.
Yep.
He looks tremendous. I just like the direction that the Orlando Magic is going in.
Yeah. So you described him, and again, if I'm wrong, tell me. I'm thinking you described RJ as like a Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
Type. Okay. Is that just because he's got so many tools in the toolbox that he could just adjust to the game?
Yeah, he just can adjust. Like, you can just drop him in the middle of anywhere, and you want me to be the defender, you want me to be the scorer, you want me to be the facilitator. Like, it's just like he can just do a little bit of everything. And again, that's why Orlando was the spot for him to be able to showcase that.
I am extremely anxious, and I do look. It's a card show. I have been I am completely transparent with my audience. I have been, since we talked, I've been buying up RJ Hampton cards, some good. So don't worry, one's going to be coming your way, and maybe we'll get RJ on the show one day, and we'll give him a card, and we'll just explain like how it's amazing in the card game, like the impact that these guys have. I mean, it's truly, and it makes me just love the game even more, because you have to make sure you have to follow the right guys.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. It's really not, because I know you're gonna you know this, but there's a couple players that I've been following a little bit under the radar. But just if just give me your quick insights on them. Okay. Emmanuel Quickley and Sixers guy Tyrese Maxey. Doc Rivers really speaks highly of Tyrese Maxey, and he's actually getting some playoff minutes, especially because Seth Curry went down a little bit with an ankle. But Doc said that he was going to have him in the rotation anyway. Are these guys, you think, role players, or they have a future to maybe take that next step?
I like both kids. I think Quickley is a little better. I think he has a better chance of becoming like a sixth man of the year. Emmanuel Quickley gives me like the Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford vibe, like a player that's going to come in the second unit and really do some damage. But Tyrese Maxey is a very solid pro. Like he has nights where he can explode for 30, or he has nights where he won't score at all. So you get a little bit of hot and cold with Tyrese, but with Quickley, I think his trajectory is faster than Tyrese's.
Oh, let me ask you this too, real quick, before we get into some of these other guys. We talked a little bit about this offline. This year with COVID, the year coming into this with COVID, the no summer camps, the no NCAA tournament, did that cause, or was that a factor with the development of these guys a little bit later, maybe?
I think so. I think it hurt the underclassmen more than the upperclassmen. The guys that have been in school longer kind of understand the regiment. And so the younger guys, I think it hurt early on, but now that we've kind of transitioned and moving forward, I think everybody's kind of caught up to speed now.
I got to ask you about one of the guys that I've been kind of been high on for a while, and he kind of up and down, but I think he's coming into his own. What you have any opinion on RJ Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a terrific year. I mean, he shot 40% from 3 this year. Drew Hanlen has done a great job. The trainer, Drew Hanlen, did a great job of kind of twerking his mechanics a little bit, getting him to knock down shots. Again, I don't see him as a star. I see him as a quality contributor to a team. But I really like that kid. I mean, I watched him here in Florida when he went to Mount Vernon. So I actually seen him with my own eyes in high school. And I was like, oh, this kid's going to be an NBA player. Like I knew that the first time I saw him.
He's like a prototypical. He's going to contribute. He's going to be good. He just might just not be at that higher echelon.
No, he's not going to be that. But he's going to be a solid contributor for his entire time
and have a good career.
Yeah, he's going to have a good career. He's going to have a long career, but he'll never be like a superstar. Like superstars that's just a whole nother tier.
That's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Are there any players that you see now that are watching the landscape of the NBA that you think would benefit? Because we talked about Hampton being in the wrong spot. Are there any guys that you see benefiting, maybe getting out of a rookie contract or moving on after their contract is up, that with a change of scenery could maybe take that next step?
Wow, that's a great question, man. I look at a kid like Cassius Winston. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home.
Oh yeah, Detroit. Of course, yeah.
Talk about Cassius Winston. I think he's a player that could really shoot up the boards as far as his trajectory as a serviceable player. Obviously, he's sitting behind Westbrook and Ish Smith in Washington, but I think he's a player that could really garner some value. But the MVP, that name that I'm going to give you,
let's have it.
Question, this is I think you need to buy this card, and I'm talking to your following. Everybody line up to buy this guy's card now. Talen Horton-Tucker from the Los Angeles Lakers.
He was hot, right? And then he took a little dip, and now he's
dip. Get his card. He's the player that is kind of on the bench, but could go somewhere else and be like the second guy on the team.
So that's what I was going to ask, because he was. I actually talked about it in another video, where it's like the card market is so reactionary, right? And I joke around. I say like a John Howard, Kyle Guy. He hits a buzzer beater in preseason. His card goes berserk, right? There's certain players like that. But when LeBron was very complimentary of Talen Horton-Tucker, so of course people heard that, they bought his card. Now but this is a guy that if he moves or he's going to be going to the right spot, the sky's going to be the limit for this dude.
Absolutely. Buy his card.
That's the kind of insight that we look for. There's other guys out there, and I was joking with, because we obviously there's no secret, we go back to our Michigan days, and of course the Detroit Mercy was where Rashad went, and it's kind of where we all hooked up, because I spent 13 years in Michigan, and there I joke around with Tyler sometimes. Now, forget when Detroit was good. When we were there, they won their championships, and with Tyler's favorite player, with like Rip Hamilton, and those were the good old days, right? But it seems lately that Detroit's been a breeding ground for players that once they leave, they catch on, right? Christian Wood, we talked about, was it Chris Middleton, like all these guys. Right? So maybe it's like these guys. It's just funny how things work out for guys. So before I move on to one of the last things I want to talk to you about, any other guys that we should be, our eyes should be open with, that are maybe like a little bit under the radar?
Absolutely. I want you guys to take a trip to Portland and grab Anthony Simons' card now.
I should say, hey, wait, you got to tell me first, and then you come on the show. And then this is like, the typical thing where it's like these guys, like what they'll do is they'll go buy all these cards. They don't know. They'll buy the cards and be like, okay, you should go buy this guy, but they already have all the cards. This is new to the card world, right? I'm hearing this for the first time from my friend, who I thought was my friend, where he like should text me and say, go pick up this guy's card. But you guys are hearing it firsthand. Tell me about Anthony Simons.
This is a kid that right now could start on 85% of the teams in the NBA. He's playing behind a future Hall of Famer and CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, but make no mistake about it, Anthony Simons is the real deal. He's a fantastic combo guard, extremely athletic, can score in bunches, great motor. I just love this kid's trajectory. Like, he's one of my favorite to watch. Also, Nasir Little is one of my favorite players on the Portland Trail Blazers too. So I got a couple kids in Portland that I'm looking for the next 3 to 4 years to really just jump off the screen.
I mean, it's hard when you're playing behind CJ and Dame, right? It's just hard.
Hard to get minutes.
but eventually it's going to have to be changing of the guard, and these guys could shine for sure. So it's never ever too early to talk about kids coming up, right? And I wanted to ask you, guys that are not going to be either like coming out, who are you looking at now? Not college, not pro, just guys that you're like, all right, this is a kid we got to really start looking at.
Jaden Hardy is the one that you want to follow. We call him Jaden 6-star Hardy, where we from. And this kid is the next Ray Allen, in my opinion. 6'5", 4-level scorer, really good athlete, terrific technique. And he is kind of the prototype for the shooting guard and what the NBA looks for today. Jaden 6-star Hardy.
Now I know again, I heard you, I saw you talking about him, 6-star, I thought you could only get 5. It's like putting the amp to 11 when it goes to 10. Well, he's a 6, right?
Yeah.
This kid, 6 foot, 195, like you said, averaged 30 points a game, 9 rebounds, 8 assists.
6'5". He's 6'5".
6'5". He might get bigger. He'll get that leg grip, right? So is he going to bypass college? Is he going right into the G League or is the pro league?
Yeah, he's going right into the G League, and he's going to be a top 3 pick.
What's your opinion on that? Does it just depend on the kid if they should make that jump?
Yes, case by case study again. You can't just use one. You can't cookie cutter those. Like it's a case by case situation. And in Jaden's case, he's ready for that stage. Man,
that is. I am looking forward to that. I think that, when you mentioned that and I started looking at him, I mean, this kid is the real deal.
Can't miss kid, man.
Yeah. So when you hear it from Rashad on something like that, you take it to the bank. So
yeah,
if people want to follow you, I know you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter. Can you tell us a little bit about 2319?
Yeah, Sports Talk 2319 is was a platform that I wanted to create to be the voice for the unheard. I just felt like, watching mainstream media is cool and it's great, but mainstream only covers so much, and I wanted to create a platform where I was able to kind of spread the love and really echo the voices of other players that wasn't getting as much attention as they should, like the Ja Morants and so forth. And it's 2,319 points. That's how many points I scored in college. That's where the 2319 comes from. It's like a numerical representation of overcoming obstacles and knocking down barriers. So I just felt that it made sense to just call it Sports Talk 2319.
It's beautiful. Hey, I got to ask you this before because it's coming to me. You went to Detroit Mercy. I mean, if people, and you were the greatest player, in my opinion, to ever play there. I mean, I'm not saying that because you're my friend. I'm just talking facts. Ja Morant went and played against your alma mater, and your ex-teammate is coaching there, right?
Yeah.
You didn't give him a heads up. You said, hey, man, watch it.
I did. I got a funny story, right?
Please.
So it's funny because I talked to Bakari Alexander yesterday. He's one of my great friends, obviously college teammate.
Sure.
So I called him 2 nights before they had to play Murray State. So I called him on the phone.
Did he ask you to come suit up?
Yeah. They probably could have used me that night. So I called him on the phone. I said, hey, you got Murray State coming in. He's like, I know. He's like, tell me what you know, because he was like, I know you got some information that I can't find on these kids, right? So I said, look, they got 2 players that I really love. Jonathan Stark, who was one of my favorite players in college basketball, was Ja's running mate. And I said, they got Jonathan Stark and they got this freshman kid, call him Ja Morant. I said, look, the Ja Morant kid is going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA in 2 years. And then the phone, he just got silent on the other end.
It's like, what?
He's like, who do we schedule? Like, I said, just be careful, right? So 2 days later, the game goes, right? Jonathan Stark plays well. Ja has like 11, 9, and 10, like almost a triple-double, right? He calls me the next morning. He was like, yeah, he's a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, and I think like we talk about golf, it's you get that mid-major, how good could this kid be, right?
Right.
Pretty good. You had Ja ahead of Zion in your draft, right?
Sure did.
And not that Zion's going to be bad.
I love Zion. I just thought that Ja Morant, it's really preference, okay? It's really preference at the end of the day. We come up now, I think the sports society has conditioned us to like pin players against each other. So if I have this kid ranked higher than that one, that means I don't like this one. It's not that. I just felt that Ja Morant would be ready for the stage to just lead right away because of what I talked to you earlier. He had mid-major point guard. I just felt like he would win earlier because he's been bred to do it more than Zion has. And it's shown. Memphis is in the playoffs right now, and the Pelicans, they haven't made the playoffs.
No, I do. And we could talk for hours, and I bug you on Twitter, and then, you're on texting. And look, I just want to thank you so much for taking some time to come on. I just want people who follow me to understand that there are professionals out there that can give you insight that you just can't get from some guy doing a YouTube channel who professes, who's going to be the next GM. I wanted to catch you before you're out of here, before you won't take my calls anymore, before you're in, working for some NBA team. But Rashad, thank you so very much. Please follow Rashad on Twitter, follow him on Instagram, get on that sports talk. If you want to get a leap or a jump on anything for basketball, and you're going to open it up to other sports.
Yes, that's why I named it Sports Talk, because I want to talk sports, football, basketball, baseball. So we're trying to, I'm already working on, building this conglomerate. I have a great team around me. So we're building it day by day, brick by brick.
That's awesome. So with that, Rashad, thank you so very much. And for everyone out there, follow Rashad. Information invaluable. And until next time, everyone, take care.